Over the past 20 years, education policy on both the federal and state levels have changed significantly. This shift was primarily from a more hands-off approach from the federal government to be more engaged with setting the standards. This shift was accomplished primarily through the No Child Left Behind Act, but several aspects are still in the hands of the states, such as bilingual education. The No Child Left Behind Act was designed to ultimately improve the educational standards in this country. However, it has failed to do this. It was, however, successful at bringing many of the issues in schools to national attention. U.S. education policy has been met repeatedly with failures due to a lack of equity in the system and inability to change that on a national level. However, new federal programs have a chance at success. Before we get too far into this, we need to establish what is equity and who are the underserved. Equity is giving everyone the resources they need to reach their full potential. This means if a student is struggling academically, they can catch up to where they should be for their grade level. And if a student is already beyond their grade level, they get the help they need to be challenged and achieve their full potential, as defined by Linton in his book, The Equity Framework. Knowing this definition, it makes it easier to generally define who the underserved are when it comes to education. The underserved, for the purpose of this video, would be those that are English language learners and the impoverished populations. It should be noted that the word underserved can be applied to many different groups. That being said, we can proceed to the first major topic, bilingual education. Bilingual education, as discussed earlier, is very much a state-by-state policy. These policies have in some states changed drastically since 1997. In Illinois, for example, according to George Amselle's 1997 report on bilingual education in 10 different states, held the dubious distinction of having arguably the worst bilingual education laws in the United States. The state at the time, according to Amselle, required students who come from a home where anyone ever uses a language other than English are given a standardized English test regardless of the student's actual English ability, and must score higher than the 50th percentile to avoid being placed in the bilingual program. This is a very difficult standard given the fact that English skill does not exempt students from this standard. Illinois has changed the policy since then. The 23rd Illinois Administrative Code 228, in summary, has changed Illinois to require a particular score to not be placed in a bilingual program. This score is to be set by the state superintendent. These changes in states have not always been positive, however, as California went from having a bilingual education program to getting rid of it. Limits of the bilingual program, however, were recently repealed, as according to California repeals the law that limited bilingual education. These law changes in both Illinois and California, having had happened in the past year, have failed to make a notable shift, as students have not gone through a full school year since these shifts have occurred. And in California, changes to bilingual programs likely have not yet occurred. That being said, the English language learner programs are the gateway to federal standards. No Child Left Behind Act, as many of us know, was put in place to improve the standard of education. Although No Child Left Behind was not fully successful in its goal, it can be attributed with drawing attention to problems that already existed. One such problem is the education gap, something noted by Thomas H. Levine and Alan S. Marcus's article, Closing the Achievement Gap. The authors note that there is a notable achievement gap based on class, race, and language. The authors of this piece go on to discuss some of the solutions to these problems. These solutions, however, won't be covered in this video, but other solutions to these problems will be. Schools that fall into the lower half of this trend tend to be ethnic minority schools of the lower class and or non-English speaking. These schools go on to be turnaround schools or are at least schools that are at risk of being shut down. In these schools, many students will not receive the support or challenge they need to succeed. This may prove problematic for these students down the line where they may end up dropping out. This issue is further developed due to No Child Left Behind, in that teachers have started to primarily teach and focus heavily on standardized testing. According to Judy Gosnell-Lamb, Francis L. O'Reilly, and John J. Matz, has No Child Left Behind changed the face of leadership in public schools. The problems with No Child Left Behind are varied and are hard to completely distinguish between the little known but always there and the new ones created by the program. However, to many of these problems there are, as mentioned before, solutions. Many problems of No Child Left Behind are being dealt with either through private organizations or on a local level. For example, Project Civis is an experimental solution that sought to solve the problems of a lack of access to high-quality curriculum, a lack of challenge in existing curriculum and instruction in the middle grades, and the need to immerse students in the tenets of democratic citizenship and historical inquiry. The curriculum of Project Civis, according to the study, saw significant improvements in the classroom. However, there were some issues collecting the data for these classrooms that attempted to use this curriculum, as several teachers dropped out or were unable to report full information. This, however, did not seem to have a significant impact on the study or the report. Another solution that I encountered during my research was the use of a university's honor society to help foster a love of learning in those who are first-generation students or those who have persevered in the face of struggling at-risk schools. The main issue with this solution is that the student needs to actually make it into college. By this point, however, it will not assist those in at-risk schools beyond potentially giving others hope for getting into college. These solutions definitely have their limitations, but they have solved many of the problems faced under No Child Left Behind. However, there is a new act. The Every Student Succeeds Act is designed to overcome many of the limitations of No Child Left Behind. Part of the Act includes a formula designed to give impoverished areas the funding needed to improve the quality and effectiveness of education. This has the added requirement that the districts give a comprehensive breakdown as to how the funding will be used and how schools are planned to be improved, according to a reader's guide for the ISBE Every Student Succeeds Act, State Plan Draft Number 1. This is a drastic difference from No Child Left Behind, which tend to cut funding from struggling schools. This in turn would result in the school either becoming a turnaround school in which it improves its situation or being forced to shut down. It is too soon to know for sure the exact impact of Every Student Succeeds on the underserved communities, but new information is coming out frequently. All in all, U.S. educational policies are widespread. These policies affect everyone in different ways. Many of these policies have failed to have the initial effect that they intended to have, but were able to be corrected in the end. Hopefully, great things will come out of the Every Student Succeeds Act in the near future.